Hey guys, welcome to Homeschooling on Mama's Bed. My name is Gwinnell and I'm homeschooling my 7-year-old son, second grade, and my 4-year-old daughter, preschool. Today I'm going to be going over my end of the month October update. Changes we've made, updates, things that are going on, just lots of updates to go over. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage, get super cozy, find a cozy sitting place, and gather around because we got lots of tea to spill, girlfriend. Okay, so the first round of updates that I want to give are just general. Number one, we are getting back into the swing of things. This is not a surprise to you if you've been following me on Instagram and or here on YouTube. We had a 2-week vacation because my sister, who lives in Switzerland with her 2 sons, came to visit for 2 weeks. That's not a surprise to you because I have been posting all about it. If you're new here, that is. But if you are one of my regulars, you know all about that. So something that's interesting is not only are we getting back into the swing of things after already having a really great routine, but we're also inundated with a bunch of wonderful but busy fall things going on right now. So that being said, we are doing our best to catch up. We're on week 2 of back into things, and I feel like last week we got a lot better at just really solidifying some core things that we do. So all the subjects that I teach, language arts, math, and reading, so lighting literature, all about reading, math with confidence, those things we worked really hard last week to get into the swing of things. My son is really working hard to focus. I'm working really hard to be patient when he's not focusing, and he's a 7-year-old boy in second grade. Like, that is so normal to be wiggly and fidgety and not super focused. I'm working on this. He's working on this. We're week 2 back after a 2-week vacation. So that's a pretty big update. The second thing is my son has had a few required tests that he's had to take, one for math and one for language arts. We technically are enrolled in an online school district so that we can get funding. So I'm in the state of Idaho, and homeschool funding is none. We don't get anything. There's a tax credit that just got introduced, but it's garbage. It's total garbage. And it also includes education funding for low-income families primarily, and it also incorporates private school funding there. So it's not really homeschooling, but it's getting labeled as homeschooling, and it's a great thing to do, but it's not really helpful for homeschooling, and it's very laborious, and a huge file needs to be put together. So I am by no means a tax consultant, and I cannot give any sort of tax return or tax filing legal advice. So please do not take that as such. But from what I have been told, it is not so great. So that being said, I work with a program called Overture, and I do still need to submit the work that we are doing occasionally, and my son is required to take some testing. But I get some money in return. I get to have the curriculums that I'm purchasing and a lot of supplies that I'm purchasing reimbursed, and I am incredibly grateful for that because it's money that I don't have to spend. It's money that I can focus on feeding my family with instead of teaching them. And it's such a blessing to have. So I'm not going to complain about it. My son did really well in both testing, and I'm going to talk more about those when I talk about lightning literature, all about reading, and math with confidence updates specifically. So that being said, it's been busy. We have been adjusting. The third big adjustment has been with my daughter. So I have been doing preschool with her, and I actually just did a video on my preschool curriculum, things that I've been working with her, and things have changed. All the things used in that video are still being used, but now I've had more things added to the curriculum. So I'm going to go over things that have been added and why as well. So without further ado, let's start with subject number 1, which is math with confidence. My son's doing really well with math. And it's actually interesting because we've just done these testing, and in the online school program that we are enrolled with, we do get some money. And with that, we also have a teacher assigned to us to help us with any resources that we need, to help guide me if I need any help with anything. And she's gone over how well my son is doing with testing, which is really interesting because in kindergarten and the first semester of first grade, he did not do super well with testing. He just doesn't have a ton of focus to begin with. So testing in kindergarten was a nightmare. And I really don't think that his testing was truly reflecting his knowledge because of that attention span. What 5 to 6-year-old boy has a great attention span to sit at a computer and test? Like, honestly, it's bogus, to be honest, because I was sitting and I was reading with him, and I knew how well he was doing. I knew his phonetic awareness. I knew his vocabulary. I knew his letter awareness. Like, I knew all these things, and I knew that his testing was not reflecting his actual knowledge. That being said, I think it's really cool that for the first time, his testing has actually reflected this knowledge as his teacher, as the person aware of where he's at, what he's doing, what he's working on, and what his actual knowledge is completely in the, like I'm the one teaching, so I know how he's doing, right? And having that reflect on his test, it's really gratifying and it's really special. And it's kind of something that you only get to know by being a homeschooling mom, because you don't know what your kid is learning and understanding while they're away at school. And so you don't know how to test them and discuss all these things at home. Does that make sense? So it's really nice to see the progress actually reflecting in testing. So I don't mind it too much, to be honest. It's actually helpful and validating for me as a teacher. So with Math with Confidence, he actually tested half of the components in second grade and half of the components in third grade. And he's in second grade. So I am calling this a win. What an amazing blessing that has come from homeschooling. And it wasn't the case when he was in public school. Just because of his focus, he also wasn't grabbing things as well in math. And so I feel like homeschool has been a huge blessing to my son and his learning, because he's getting that one-on-one attention that he really needs with his need for quality time. You can't get that in the classroom, and it's not a teacher's fault. It's not their fault they have so many kids, and there's no way a teacher could fill that love tank. So it is such a blessing that homeschool is able to do that, because he's getting such high deposits to his love bank. He's able to learn a lot more, and he did so well on his test. I'm so proud of him and his hard work, because he is working really hard to learn. So I'm really proud of him there. And I love Math with Confidence. I also feel like half of his success is attributed to that one-on-one time, and the other half is attributed to how fantastic of a learning resource Math with Confidence is. I can't recommend it more. Honestly, it is really great. It's short, it's concise, and it takes so many different approaches to learn one thing. Now, the only complaint that I really have with Math with Confidence right now is, at this point, my son is supposed to have down his addition facts, +7, +8, +9, and +6 as well. And my son is not quite picking up on them. He's still adding with his fingers, which he learned to do in public school, which that's normal in kindergarten. That's a normal thing to do. But he's not quite where the curriculum wants him to be. And so at first I had ordered from Amazon some flashcards, but I just didn't like the style. And so I am going to make some index flashcards just to review with them. Math with Confidence isn't a big fan of flashcards, but I really feel like my son needs them to really get them. They want you to have these addition facts, and now we're on subtraction facts. So then subtraction facts as well within 3 seconds. And my son is really not there with most things by this point. Now, 2 resources that I do have from Kate Snow, who is the author of Math with Confidence, is addition facts that stick and subtraction facts that stick. My mom actually bought these, and it was so nice of her. She was going to do them this summer before he started the program. That is something that is recommended, but we didn't get to it. Things are crazy. So I am actually going to start doing these as well. I haven't decided exactly how we're going to apply these, so stay tuned for November's update, where I go over how we did this, how often we did it. Did we do it every day? Did we do it once a week? How did we go about this? I am going to still do some note cards as well, some flashcards that I make myself. But I do want to try these as well, because if they are going to help, and it's supposedly supposed to stick within 6 weeks. So I haven't even looked into how often am I supposed to do that for that to be effective within 6 weeks. I'm just showing you these books because this is what I'm going to try out. So I'll keep you posted on how that goes. Next is Lightning Literature. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I love this program with all my heart. It is such a fantastic program. I love the writing opportunities. I feel like they're really helpful, specifically the reading journals, where you write about what you thought about the story of the week. There's a book for every single week that you read, and the week's lessons, the grammar lessons, everything is all tailored to a book. I love that. It's just learning through a book, a story, and I think that is so powerful. So the grammar lessons, the punctuation, the writing, the verbs, the nouns, the parts of speech, everything that you're learning about is happening with the book. And then on top of that, you're learning about setting and plot and all these sorts of things. So many components of language arts is being picked up through reading, and it's tying back to that story of the week. I love that. I think that is really powerful. Now, my only complaint with that, though, is the writing composition is really difficult, and I'm really having a hard time getting my son to love it, because I am not an English teacher, though I did take a lot of college English classes, and I am a writer. My career is content writing and communications, so writing is what I know very well. But even so, I don't know how to teach a second grader how to write. What formula should they be following for a writing composition, right? That is really confusing to me, and I am just so bummed that Lightning Literature doesn't have that. If it had that, this would truly be the perfect curriculum, at least in my eyes. So because of that, I've decided to supplement. I went on Teachers Pay Teachers, and I found Paragraph of the Week, which it looks like this. I bought the PDF, that's what was available, and then I printed it. So it comes, actually, I've got 3 different ones just like this. This one is the biggest, it has the most pages, and it is for narrative writing. Then I have opinion writing. It's a little bit thinner. And same size, I have informative writing. Sorry, narrative writing. And it's about that same size. So these 3 books are meant to last from 2nd grade to about 5th grade. So these are not going to be done this year. We'll probably cycle 1 a week of each. So we'll start maybe with 1, go to the 2nd one, and go to the 3rd one. And here is what they look like. So here's the table of contents, all of the paragraphs that are included in here. We have the suggested schedule from Monday to Friday. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see that. So now I'll just flip through what it would look like to accomplish one of the paragraph prompts that it has. So this one is paragraph number 2, and it is choosing a book. Here, you would do kind of the drafting phases. So you're going to write down, just take a minute. There's no amount that you need to write, just what goes into choosing a book. And then you're going to pick 3 of all the ideas that you wrote. So for example, it says, what is the topic you're writing about? Use a space to brainstorm facts and information you can write about your topic. So when you're at the library, it's important to find a book that will be a good fit for you. Write about how you choose that library book. So all the things that you would do, you write right here. And then you pick 3 of those and you put them here. Okay, so this is happening within a couple days. So this is what day 1 is brainstorm. Day 2 is picking out the specific 3. And then here you get to put those specific 3 in a nice sentence, and you're going to write an intro, a topic sentence, and it tells you right here how, and it tells you right here how to incorporate those 3, and then to support it with more detail. So each of the 3, you can write some more information, some supporting detail, and then you have your closing sentence. And so this gives you a really nice formula of how to structure a paragraph and how to support the details that you're including in there. So you have, in essence, 5 for sure sentences, which that's a normal paragraph, and then some supporting details if that's needed. Then here's a grading rubric that you can go over with your kiddo. Is it including all these things? You don't have to use this. I chose to print it out. There's a lot of things I didn't choose to print out. About half of the content for each paragraph I did not print out because there were 2 different formats. So you could pick a full page or smaller cards, and I picked the full page because I felt like that was useful for me. Then we have the draft page. So basically you're taking what you wrote from that last page, that formula that it just had, and you're putting on a draft. And it also included a final draft. First of all, I felt like what was before was already a rough draft, and this would be a final draft. But also, on top of that, my son uses a special composition book that is specifically for younger writers that has like this, and it has like a dot in between. If you've seen my 6-week update, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you don't, you can go back and check that out. But it's a special composition book that has special paper for younger writers. I can't remember what it's called. We'll put a picture right here that shows you what it looks like. But that being said, this is not where my son should be writing a final draft because it doesn't have that middle dotted line to help him with his writing right now. And that's what he needs. Maybe your kiddo is not there, and maybe you could do the final draft here if you wanted to. You could print that one. I opted not to because we didn't need it. And he could always just have his final draft be here. Even though it says draft, we could have it be here if we wanted, because I really do feel like the page before was a rough draft. And then that's it. It goes to the next paragraph already. So that is an example of one paragraph. And I have that. And additionally, I asked ChatGPT, just the free version. I don't have the paid version. I really don't like to use it, and I don't like to use it very often. But my sister suggested I try and ask ChatGPT what the formula for a 2nd grade writer should be. And it was actually really good. It came up with a wonderful graphic. I will include it right here. I am in the process of sprucing it up. I don't think it looks very visually appealing, to be completely honest. So I am going to edit it and make it look a lot nicer. And then I'll post it on Instagram. And then anybody who wants it, feel free to take it. I mean, I didn't create it. ChatGPT did. So I would never charge somebody for something I didn't actually create. So that being said, I'm going to post it up on my Instagram. Stay tuned for that. And if you're struggling, if you're using Lightning Literature and you're struggling, please find it. It's been such a help. I used it actually today when I was working on a Lightning Literature writing composition assignment. So it's helping. I've had to outsource to figure out how to accomplish the writing composition assignment for each week. But it's okay. It's still such an amazing program. It is not deterring me from continuing to want to get the 3rd grade version next year. So speaking of 3rd grade, the testing for my son. So we talked about the math. My son did really well with the math and the language arts. He did super well as well. He actually placed for 3rd grade. Not only 3rd grade, but the 2nd month of 3rd grade. So I hope that tells you what a testament, how great All About Reading and Lightning Literature are as programs, because that is not where my son was placing in his tests just not even a year ago. Okay. So that being said, homeschool and the curriculum and the quality time, I think, are the magic sweet spots that are really helping my son to flourish. I don't mean to brag. I just, your kids' strengths here and their gifts. My son is a very intelligent kiddo. He always has been. He's always been mentally older for his age, but emotionally, he's right where he should be. So focus, emotional regulation, he's right where he should be. So he is very intelligent, but in order to focus, to apply that intelligence, that is going to be his lesson. For however long it's going to be his lesson. As you get older, of course, that focus gets a lot better naturally, very age developmentally. He's a wiggly boy. That's totally normal. It's fun to see how homeschool is helping that. It's giving him the one-on-one time that he needs to get where he needs to be. The curriculums that because I'm religious, I prayed about really hardcore because I wanted to know what would be the best for him. And I went with what I felt really good about. And I'm so grateful that those things are working out. They're panning out. And if we need to make adjustments and change them in the future, absolutely just fine. But for now, they're working fantastic. And I feel like Lightning Literature has done a lot for reading comprehension that wasn't very strong for him. As I do things regularly with him, he improves. So ever since he was in kindergarten, I've been reading the Magic Treehouse books to him. And then as his reading abilities improved, having him read them to me. So now he's reading them to me regularly. And I would just sit and I would ask questions, and I would watch in his kindergarten class. As I would sit and ask him questions about the Magic Treehouse book, he would get better and better on his reading comprehension testing. But when I stopped, he would scale back and he would do worse. So as we practice with Lightning Literature, we're regularly practicing and at least twice a week asking questions on reading comprehension. He has soared. So like I said, even though the writing composition question is really lacking, the rest of the program has done wonders for my son, and I so highly recommend it. Okay, next, All About Reading. Now, a big change that I have made is, you'll see this is my original All About Reading binder. It's a lot smaller because once I finished laminating all of the cutout components, which there are quite a bit, okay, see anything here that's cut out, I laminated, it just got too thick for the 3-inch 3-ring binder. So here's number 1. And here's number 2. So we now have 2. So the first half of the program is in here, and then I just copied. This is the actual front of the original book, and this is the actual back of the original book. And I just basically unbound it myself manually. I would never do that again. I would take it to Staples or Office Depot or wherever they would do it and have them unbind it for you, because it was the most hair-pulling moment that I have had with All That Reading. Just go. They have you cut things out, but it gets really hard to do. You have to rip the pages out, and as you get closer to the middle, you rip the page in such a bad way. The perforated ripping parts just don't rip out very well. So I would recommend having a professional unbound it. I don't know what the price is, but I saw that idea on YouTube, and I'm going to go research it because, well, I'll tell you why in just a minute, but I'm going to need to unbind another one pretty soon. So anyways, so this is part 1. I copy it. So this is the actual back of the book, and this was the actual front of the book. And then I ended up copying them on my printer, and I just put these on the second binder. I'd really like to get something for here, but I'm not there yet. I have not had the bandwidth to find something, but I might just copy just this, just to here, and just put it right there. But anyway, so this is the second one. And this is what this looks like. It's just the second part of everything. So all of the pages have everything needed. The green cards, the yellow cards, the activity cutouts, the practice worksheets, everything is in here. The only thing that's not are the readers and the teacher guide. That being said, my son's doing really well. He is on lesson 40 of 57. So he's pretty close to done. He's got about 4 to 6 weeks left if he continues at the pace he's been doing, which is half to 1 lesson a day. It depends on the length of what's going on. If it's a lesson that just has reading, the reading lessons are different from the practice sheet lessons. And the lessons where he's reading out of the books that they provide, reading one story, they have a warm-up page, just a small warm-up page of things, phrases to have them read in preparation for reading the story, so that they read the story faster and with more confidence, so they enjoy reading that story. And then they just have you pay attention to maybe things that they're learning how to do in a book, or things that they're doing. They just give some vocab warm up and some background knowledge on the story. And then after the story, if there's anything to pay attention for, like onomatopoeia or alliteration or anything like that to pay attention to that they're specifically learning through the story. Like onomatopoeia is words that we speak that are the actual noise, like ack or buck or ruff. Those are onomatopoeia, because the word is the noise that you would make when making a sound. So there was a lesson where we had to learn about that. So following reading the book, there was a section that talked all about like onomatopoeia and what that's like and stuff like that. So those are pretty short lessons in my opinion. And I don't ever count reading time as part of the lesson time because there's 20 minutes of read aloud time that my son has to do every day. So if we're doing practice sheets, I don't count that as a lesson time. I count that towards his 20 minutes of reading. And once he hits his 20 minutes of reading, we're not going to do anymore. But the practice sheets have never required 20 minutes. And I always count those as 20 minutes of reading because he's reading words and he's reading phrases in those practice sheets, at least in level 2. I don't know about level 1. I haven't done level 1 yet, but in level 2, I always count that. So that's kind of an update as I've realized that I needed to not count the practice sheets as part of a 20-minute of a lesson because I'm counting that towards his 20 minutes of read aloud time. The last update for all about reading is that because we are in lesson 40 out of 57 and we only have about 4 to 6 weeks left of level 2, I have just ordered and received level 3 and I'm so excited about it. Now, again, I unbind it. I cut all of the activity cutouts. It normally would traditionally have you do it as part of that day's lesson, but I feel like that's a lot of work to be cutting. Sometimes there's a lot of things to cut out. And remember, I'm laminating everything. So to cut it all out and to laminate it the night before would be so stressful. So I do that all, not necessarily all at once, but I do it all before starting it. So it does take time. It's going to take a few weeks. Like once a week, I would just sit down and laminate a bunch of the pages, anything that was cut out. So the practice sheets or anything that was a full sheet that there was nothing being cut on it, I left it and put in a page protector and called it good. But if it's any part of the pages being cut out with my laminator, I have to laminate the whole page. I can't cut things out and then laminate them. So if any part is being laminated, even if only 2/3 of the page is being cut out, I laminate the whole thing because I have to with my laminator. And then I just cut out all the parts that need to, and then I put it in the page protector. So like, for example, lesson 1, all of lesson 1 is going together, all the practice sheets, any warm-up sheet, any cutouts, I'll rubber band any cutouts that I do, because there's usually a group of them, I rubber band them together, and I put it all in the practice sheet. So that being said, I have a lot under my belt to go with level 3 before we start in about 4 to 6 weeks. It could be 8 weeks. I don't know. I mean, it could take longer. I'm not stressed about when we start. I just want to make sure that I get level 3 ready to go, at least some of it. With level 2, I did not have all of it done before we started. I probably had 8 or 9 lessons done before because I was under the impression it was going to take at least, it could take anywhere from a day to 2 weeks for each lesson. And it can. My son just didn't need that much time. I just thought he would need more time. So I had about 8 or 9 lessons done. So that being said, I'm going to start prepping level 3 and I'm really excited. I also purchased level 1 because we just started with level 2 since he's in grade 2. And honestly, placement, he was actually in halfway through of level 2. So, but it's okay. There are things that I hadn't known about because I wasn't physically in the classroom with my son. I did a lot of parent support in his reading journey, but I wasn't primarily the one teaching him how to read. So I learned a lot through All About Reading that was so helpful, so groundbreaking for me to even understand my own language. So that being said, I wanted to also get level 1 and just look through it and work on anything that maybe my son has any sort of gaps, just because he is technically in 3rd grade level. Placement for his reading and language arts does not mean he doesn't have gaps. There are absolutely gaps. And so I wanted to get level 1, look through it, and work on anything that would be helpful for him. And then eventually when my daughter is ready for level 1, when she's done with pre-reading and she's actually ready to start officially learning how to read, then, I mean, it's not money wasted because, well, first of all, I can get it reimbursed through my homeschool program because it's for my son. But then also later on, I will use it for my daughter whenever she's ready to use it. So that being said, I'm really excited to get both ready. I'm not going to focus on getting level 1 all prepped and ready to go because I really mostly just want the teacher manual at this point. But I am preparing level 3. And it's going to be even busier because it's the holiday season. So I'm excited. I love homeschooling. I'm excited. I love homeschooling. I'm reminding myself that busyness is okay and I can schedule out my day to make this go a lot more seamless and waste less time on my phone. It's okay. I love homeschooling. Okay, so that is it as far as updates for my son. Next are updates for my daughter. Okay, so components that I am still using that I already talked about, All About Reading, pre-reading for my daughter. So I've got the teacher manual, and I have the Zigzag Zebra book, okay? Still using these guys along with that. The cards as well, still using these. I just laminated them and I cut the corners and I rubber banded each lesson so that I could separate them because I don't have that card box. I didn't feel like it was worth the money to get that card box. So these live in a container, but I have all the components of that container out right now. So I'm gonna go put this back in a minute. Still using the preschool basics, the scissor skills, and this alphabet book. We're actually here on letter J already, so we are on hold with this one until we get to letter J because with some other books that I have gotten since we're starting back over at A, so we can complete those pages. So we're pausing on that one for now, but the scissor basics, we're still doing this about every other day. And this the day that we're not doing scissor, we're doing these basics, which these are just kind of math a little bit, figuring out, okay, you have a picture of 4 chickens and only 2 are the same size, and she would have to circle those. So we're still doing this. These are just like critical thinking kind of skills in preschool, learning shapes, colors, things like that. And we're also learning that in the back and workbooks as well. And lastly, the whiteboard. And here I explained in my preschool video that here I will write a 3-letter word in which the vowel says it's short vowel. So A would say ah, E would say eh, so no long vowels because that usually requires a silent E. That's way, way above her knowledge level. So I would only, like Gab, if I was doing the letter G, I'll write a 3-letter word that starts with the letter we're working on. So A or B or C or D. So B would be bad, big, bag. I'll write in capital with a different color for each word. And then, like, for example, if I did bag, I would say, okay, what is this letter? She would say B. And what sound does it make? B. What is this letter? A. What sound does it make? Ah. What is this letter? G. What sound does it make? Bag. B, A, G. B, A, G. Until she says bag. And she is at the point where she is saying them. It was so cute. The other day I had DAD. It was like the 4th word that we did, and I hadn't planned it. I actually lesson planned the 3 words that I'm going to do for a letter. So we are doing a letter every single day. And I did dad just on the offhand because I was like, oh, she would love that. And when she realized it said dad, she was so happy. I wish I had recorded that moment because she was just like, oh, dad, she was so excited. And now she wants to do it all the time. I can't wait to show her mom. I hope she's as excited, but I don't mind. Dad is amazing. Her dad is incredible. And she's every right to be so excited to know like how to say dad. Like that was so special that she read that word. It was almost as special as when she said dad for the first time, or dad. That's probably what she said before dad. So still doing these things. Okay, next, let me show you what I have introduced since my curriculum video. So first is this alphabet book. Now, this is a TPT curriculum by Crystal McGinnis. Hope I'm saying this right. My mom has actually helped me. She's just constantly being like, oh, do this, do this. She's giving me so many different things to try. That's why I'm updating it. I probably wouldn't have done anything different at this point, but my mom is amazing. And also my sister who lives close by, Nicole, she is amazing. And she's doing things, my daughter and her son, they're different ages, but they're pretty much at the same level right now. So when she's trying new things, she's like, oh yeah, you should try this. So we'll get that and incorporate it. So there's a couple different TPTers in here and I'll have to link it at some point, but I do not know at this point. But I do know we have some fun things. So I want to show you for the letter A, the different things that we have been able to do. So with this alphabet by Crystal McGinnis, what you get is this. And so you have the letter A, and then you have all these things that start with the letter A, and they can color them. Then, I love this. I really, really like this. They can trace the letter A, and it tells you, and then they get to do little ones. So later on, you'll see that we actually have those dot markers that we use, which dot markers are really genius for this. Or really big, wide markers would be really good for here to help practice. And then if they're ready, they can trace those smaller ones, which she uses pencil, and you just can't really see here, but she does trace there. And then you have more drawing opportunities. Okay, in a different unit that I'll have to link, they get to use a dot marker to highlight all of the upper and lowercase a's. So you'll see anything that isn't an A was not dotted. So she recognizes them at this point. It's just fun and more practice for her. And then additionally, you get to color. My daughter doesn't want to color a ton of things. She's kind of picky about the coloring things. She wanted to use a dot marker, and I'm like, great. So she colored everything that has an A. And just so you know, angelfish. That is why that's A, because angelfish. I know that some people are going to look at this and be like, well, that's not the letter. But also there's monkey somewhere on here. Ape. Okay. Ape. Ah. A. So this included the long and the short vowel sounds. So I kind of had to explain that to her. Not terrible. Then we go into B, and it just repeats itself the same. So a bunch of things to color with that same premise of a bunch of things with the letter B, then practicing that B again. So something to note here. So here we're on C, and as you get to these curves, it gets a lot trickier. With the B and the A, it was a lot easier for her to practice writing, but with the C, and then even you look at the D, those curves are just hard. That's elementally normal, so I'm not worried about that. And here she, for the first time, used a dot marker to draw these in. We didn't pull them out, and I didn't think about it before. So this is the first day that we did that actually today, and it was genius. It worked really, really well. So I highly recommend it. Again, I'll have to link that second workbook from Teacher Pay Teacher that it comes from, but both are fantastic. And then my mom actually bound these for me. She has a binder, so I don't bind very often. I just usually prefer to buy pre-made curriculum because I don't love binding. but I learned how to bind this week. I bound those 3 paragraph of the week books, and that was enough for me for a while. I much prefer to buy a pre-bound book if I can. So, but that being said, the 2 alphabet curriculums were phenomenal, and my daughter has been loving them. Dot markers are magic for kids, to be honest. I would be very surprised if your kiddo did not like a dot marker. Some can be pretty pricey, but worth it in my opinion. Okay, so next, this comes from Gentle Feast. These are cards, and I'm not going to get them all out, but for example, for the Z on the back of a card, so this one, the front says Z, and you would say zipping zipper, z, z, z. So I do these for every letter that we do. I introduce a new one. So for example, we're on D, so we're doing A, B, C, and D. So we incorporate a new one with every letter that we're on. To go along with that, this is the box that I put those yellow All About Reading cards into. So for C, here are these cards that go along with it. If I was on the letter C, these are all things that start with a C so she can practice. So car, cookie, cupcake, cow, cat, candy, and then back to the car. So that is how we would practice this. Another new card incorporation. And I have one more incorporation, and then we're done for all updates. So my mom found this as well. I would not have been that curious, but I'm very blessed to have amazing family. So we've got the first half of the alphabet. You have a cone, and then similar along the same lines to the cards that I just showed you. Here are scoops for everything that would start with a B, with an A. So apple, you would put it on top of the ice cream cone just like so. And then the next card would be alligator, just like so. The next one would be ant, just like so. Follows the same pattern for A through Z. So these are some new things. Because I have so many more things, I can't just do 1 letter a day like I was doing. So that being said, I was pretty much doing a lesson a day, but now I'm slowing down because I have more resources. So now I'm going to just recalibrate. I feel like that's what homeschool is all about, is recalibrating. So I'm backtracking a bit. We actually were farther than the letter D in this lesson, but then I kept getting more resources. So then I just went back to A and started over basically, and she didn't mind. But now we're just going through the book slower, which is not a bad thing. It means that she has more concrete knowledge of a letter, which is never a bad thing. She's getting more practice in, so that's great. I love the resources. I am so blessed to have a mom and a sister who are really into homeschool as well, and they're so supportive and they're so helpful. So it's such a blessing to add more things and just to help my daughter get a better foundation. Like, what could be better than that? I am so grateful. And with all of that, I just want to pass it forward and pass it on to you guys so you guys can learn from that and get that benefit as well. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope this update has given you some ideas in any way that you might need them. I know that when we share the wealth of knowledge, it just blesses abundantly other people. And I hope it's helped you. I hope you've been able to get something that has been able to make your homeschooling life easier. Okay, thanks guys so much for joining in. Have a very lovely rest of your day. Bye-bye.